Where'd we leave off? What was the last line? Oh right, we just entered the school. Or re-entered, I should say. For an unaware person, the Esper Academy looked exactly like a school for the gifted. This is a scenario that is most regularly used with parents when an Esper is discovered. That is, if his parents are not themselves Espers, of course. This cover was chosen because it was the most obvious and the most believable. It is still necessary today to keep the secret about the existence of Espers, about our existence. From outside, when I was studying there, our academy looked like a small manor that one would have sought to hide from prying eyes. With the recent renovations and additions, it is now much bigger and now looks like a castle. The academy borders a great forest, and its entrance is concealed by an immense park whose vegetation, having become somewhat wild, never ceased to grow. It is highly improbable that someone can end up here by chance, and as we do not arouse curiosity, nobody, or almost nobody, ventures out here. It is, and was common that Espers from other academies, and even those from our own, to get lost for a while before finally arriving at the gate. That's one of the reasons why access to this park is forbidden to students. AKA, it's the mansion from X-Men. Maybe. Until a few years ago, the academy was home to only a few students, 24 at the most. Now we can welcome almost 3 times as many, which allowed us to give more Espers a chance, notably those whose powers were more discreet. The Espers were divided into groups according to their abilities and their capacities. It was not uncommon to be only 3 or 4 in a class. We have since abandoned this way of doing things for a more traditional class system. Espers follow regular classes similar to those that students follow in normal schools, to which is added, of course, courses on learning to understand their powers and the history of Espers. A diploma recognized by the state is even awarded. That this proves that we are present and influential everywhere. On their first few days, young Espers are often a bit disoriented by these courses, which are out of the ordinary, but they will very rapidly appreciate... Rain, stop throwing in extra words, but they very rapidly appreciate learning more about their powers in themselves. It's a way for them to understand that they are not alone and to start seeing this difference as a gift. That day, as I crossed the glittering corridors leading to the entrance, images of my first steps into the academy flashed before my eyes. Ah! Oh, it's just me. ... I took a seat on one of the benches in the corridor and looked thoughtfully towards the sky visible through the large windows. I caught myself thinking, talking out aloud, thinking back to everything I had experienced. This makes 10 years now, I think, that I go through here several times per day. This place has become so familiar to me that I don't pay much attention to it anymore. It must be said that I knew every person I met. The noise made by each marble slab on the floor, and I could even predict the time with surgical precision simply by looking at the sun rays passing through the windows. But that has not always been the case. For years now, every day resembled the last, and it was impossible for me to remember any singular event except one. I will never forget my first time crossing this corridor. That day and those that followed, the sensation, what I learned and what I was told. I remembered everything, without exception. I still remember it all now, and this period marked a first turning point in my life. My first contact with the Academy and Espers took place when I was very young. When I was 5 years old, I often had migraines, terrible ones at that. Migraines which sometimes even led to a loss of consciousness. For a child of my age, this was very worrisome. My parents tried everything they could possibly do to try to find the cause of these problems. It made me pass dozens of exams, but the results were all the same. They were all conclusive. I was in perfect health, nothing was ever found because there was nothing to find, but that nobody in my entourage could have known. I was the first Esper in my family. Doctors and even my parents began to believe that it was all fake, that the pain was simply all in my imagination, but the pain was there, I knew it very well. Unfortunately, these stories reached the ears of other parents, and then those of their sons and daughters. I found myself suddenly isolated from other children my age without themselves really knowing why. This caused my symptoms to get even worse. Almost nobody wanted to believe me anymore, and nothing more could be done. I decided to keep quiet about this and tried to convince myself that it would fade with time, but I knew very well deep inside of me that it would not be the case. I shouldn't hang around too much. I still need to meet up with Haruka in the hour. Hadouken. And the hour of my interview is fast approaching now. Hadouken. That guy, Rio. Just sitting there weirdly. Like, he needs to stare out a window kind of weirdly. I resumed my walk towards the entrance hall, receiving salutations and encouragements from students from the other dormitories. Everyone was aware of my situation. It was not the type of event that you tried to hide. But yet, and despite the extreme importance of what was waiting for me, every step, every look, and every sensation reminded me of my first days at the academy. 2 years after having more or less given up on finding out what I was suffering from, more from lack of solutions than will, my parents let me know that they had been contacted by an organization that might be able to help me. This organization had presented itself as an association of psychologists of a particular nature, capable of understanding the ills of the child and proposing to examine him for free, not just being purely and strictly scientific. Cover story so obvious that even I, despite my young age, found it hard to believe. My parents, blinded by this improbable miracle solution, quickly agreed to entrust me to them for a series of tests. A few days later, I was taken away by these specialists for a day of exams. My parents accepted their conditions, namely that I go there alone. I did not really have a say in the story. I climbed into the car, fear in my stomach, not knowing what was going to happen to me. Throughout the trip, which lasted several hours, I was alone in the back and it was impossible for me to communicate with the people at the front. I did not know where I was at all. The windows of the car were opaque, as if they were trying to hide my view of the others, or to keep me unaware of our final destination. Finally, after a seemingly endless ride, the doors opened and I was signaled to get out. I was in front of what I thought was a castle, a huge building in the middle of a forest. At the time, I was obviously unaware that this was the academy and that I was going to spend a large part of my life here, but I felt immediately right at home. It gave off somewhat a soothing and protective atmosphere. Part of the fear within me turned into curiosity, and I began to believe that maybe I was here for a good reason. While I was lost in my thoughts, I heard a voice, that of a woman, who asked me to follow her. I was still too scared to do anything other than obey, and we entered the building. My eyes did not know what to look at. I was following this person whom I did not know through a place that I did not know, and all for a reason that was still very unclear, and yet, I could not help but be impressed by this place. We passed through the entry hall, which seemed even bigger without the huge fountain that sits there today, then through several corridors which vaguely resembled those of a school. When I was a boy, mirror walls used to make me feel so safe. Now they just look like tiny sandcastles. I had that last bit, but pretty much lame. I worked for the school district here briefly one summer, and having re-entered some of my old schools that I had actually went to, everything seemed so goddamn small. So I completely understand that sensation. Familiar sensation made me lose my train of thoughts. I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. I grabbed it as I usually do and discovered several messages of encouragement sent by my friends from other dormitories and even by some teachers. I stopped for a short moment, just long enough to take a necessary deep breath so as not to burst out into tears for a second time. Coffee. Then started walking in slower and slower towards the entry hall, but most of all towards the principal's office, the place of my exam. The principal's office was one of the first things I saw at the academy. After crossing many corridors, the lady who accompanied me and I finally arrived in front of an imposing door. She looked at me and said, "Here we are." I was abruptly brought back to reality. Oh, I'd almost forgotten the reason for my presence in this place. These few words managed to make the knot in my stomach even worse. Fear of the unknown, a child's greatest fear. You know, I disagree with that comment, by the way. A child's greatest fear is the unknown. When I was younger, I always liked the unknown because it meant I could explore. I don't know, it might just be me. I might be weird. I think my expression gave it away. Just before entering, the woman knelt in front of me, stared me right in the eyes while taking my hands and told me that everything was going to be fine. I cannot even say that whether these words had any effect on me. She stood up and motioned for me to enter. Around me was a huge office, one belonging to a man old enough to be my grandfather. A child's greatest fear of the belt. Wow, Lamb. Wow. This man seemed to be carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. His face seemed world-weary. Despite that, he greeted me happily and seemed to want to do everything to make me comfortable by promising me as well that everything was going to be fine. That's when my life changed for good. This man, whom I later learned was only 35 years old, was the principal of the academy. Wait, he's 35? I forgot that detail. A renowned Esper who would change the course of my life. He asked me to sit down, then he and the woman who was with me did the same. Opposite me, there followed a long period wherein I was observed, without anyone saying a word, without anyone making any movement. After this period of observation, which seemed to last at least an hour, the man finally spoke, but not to talk to me. He turned to the woman and asked her what she thought. She replied that there was no doubt. This short dialogue marked the beginning of a second period of observation. The man was eyeing me even more, looking for something on my face or my clothes. He was more agitated. He narrowed his eyes, scratched his head, and crossed and uncrossed his legs. I didn't understand at all what was going on. I looked at nothing in particular without saying anything, trying not to cross her eyes. I was totally lost. No, we get to learn his name, Lamb. It's not Chris Hansen. After many long minutes watching me, the man finally talked to me. He took his calmest voice, which froze my blood all the same, and asked me to explain to him what I was suffering from with my words. With my words, not my actions. I do not remember exactly how the words came to me, but I told him I felt sad and that it hurt my head. I wanted to tell him more, but I was afraid of his reaction. After all, the doctors had tried for over a year to make me understand that all of this was only the result of my imagination. Therefore, I did not dare to talk about all that. I did not want to sound crazy. He, however, seemed to want to learn more. He seemed to know that I was still hiding something. He asked me if that was all, and he told me I could tell him everything, that he would be able to understand me. I then took courage in my hands and tell him what I dared not say to anyone. By the way, that guy has been staring at that window forever. But the pain I felt was getting stronger the more people around me were worried or sad. Rod's smile of understanding appeared on his face. The woman spoke up. She told me not to worry anymore, that they knew what to do and that everything was going to work out, that I would feel better quickly if I did what they told me to do. They began to explain to me that I was a kind of prodigy, then progressively feeling that I was interested, that I was an Esper, and that these headaches were linked to my powers, that no one could cure me because I was not sick. They spent hours explaining everything to me and finished gaining my trust, but I was already fully committed to their cause. I think I wanted to follow them as soon as the woman told me she could help me. Do not know if they left me the choice or not, but it was the first time in years that someone believed in me and wanted to help me, hence why I had no hesitation. My motivations at that time were still partly selfish. I wanted above all to feel better and to be accepted. I did not think of the Espers as I do now, but part of me had already envisioned becoming an Esper. This is how the story of a school for the gifted came into being. The principal told my parents that the pain was due to the faster development of my abilities, that I had to follow a more adapted curriculum. My parents were initially a little surprised, but eventually accepted this idea after listening to what I had to say. A beautiful speech prepared by the academy. This was the first time I lied to my parents, the first time I lied at all. I had a hard time thinking about having to live with this lie, but that was the only solution. And then finally I told myself that it was only a half lie. Espers can be described as gifted from a certain point of view. And so, a few days later, and after the last details were settled, I was accepted at the Esper Academy. The principal accompanied me personally to the dormitories to my room, which would become my new home. Which we saw earlier. Things have changed a lot since that day. I can now control my powers. I know that what they can bring to others, and I am now in good shape and confident in myself and my abilities. I kept a few consequences of those 2 years before the academy. Finding myself isolated and mocked by other children my age had a large impact on me. Since then, I had a lot of trouble with people I did not know. First contacts were always difficult. A form of mistrust that I could not separate myself from. With time, things got better, but because of all that, I was someone that could easily be called shy, cautious, even introverted. I am much better now, but I will never forget the spirit of my life. I finally arrived in the hall, the large room where everything started for me. I do not know if it was this place that had this influence on me, but I became aware of something important that I would have done well without, given how much it affected me. I have to pass this exam because I want to become an Esper, but not only for that, I must also do this to thank those who have taken care of me for all these years. I want to show them that they were right to believe in me. But, in spite of all that, something is bothering, or frightening me, maybe. I had this impression that no matter the outcome of the exam, even if I get my best and I succeed brilliantly, in the end, sadness will prevail. That is such a pessimistic outlook. I had already vaguely thought about all this, but I had never spoken about it to anyone. I knew very well that if I failed, my parents and teachers would be sad and disappointed. That was normal, but that was not what concerned me. If I succeeded and had to leave the academy, what would happen? Many would be happy for me, there was no doubt about that, but would they only be happy? Could I hope thinking about that? I was like a brother to Brad. If I had to leave, what would happen to him? both knew this day was coming, but were we prepared? Of course, I knew that the others would be there for him, to support and help him in this ordeal, but nothing was ever going to be the same again, for him and for me. I think it was this idea that scared me and made me sad, to know that my choices were, or could, have a negative impact on the lives of my friends, and not being able to do anything about it was even worse. Nobody could do anything about it. It was our destiny to become Espers and leave the academy, but the prospect of seeing this situation come to pass dampened my enthusiasm for the exam. I was afraid that the moment would come when we all had to say goodbye. I knew this was not going to be a farewell, of course, but I was going to have to say goodbye to people who I had lived with for over 10 years. I was afraid that these words would leave me with a bitter taste. Especially when these people were counting a lot on you for one reason or another. You may leave a void and feel like you were abandoning someone. I felt like that once, and then I took a sip of coffee, and then everything was fine. This situation was even harder for an Esper, being whose main quality is empathy, because, you know, coffee's my only friend. It's my only friend, it's all I need. It's my precious. A being who can feel the pain and sadness of others. Today will be a difficult day, not just for me. I'd better not think too much about this at the moment and concentrate on the task at hand. Lake. I have to hurry, I'm waiting in the hall. I shouldn't hang around anymore. This time is running out, my exam is looming up ahead. Along with Haruka. Haruka. The entry hall was the focal point of the academy, with its 8-meter-high walls and huge banners. It was the most imposing room in the whole school, but also the liveliest. Out of curiosity, how tall was 8 meters again? 26 feet. Got it. I couldn't remember if it was like 3... I know it was approximately 3 feet per meter. This music makes you think of the one game. It's not how you spelled it, but yeah. I don't know, I haven't actually... The main reason for the ceaseless activity in this room was that it connected... Oh, by the way, I was wondering, there actually is an option to auto-play the dialogue and whatnot. That's the auto button, but it kind of defeats the purpose of being able to, you know, just kind of read it, talk, and do whatever, so... the main reason for the ceaseless activity was that it connected the different dormitories and the different classrooms. Access to girls' dormitory corridors was forbidden to boys and vice versa. So this was the inevitable rendezvous point before going to class for those who organized study sessions or for those who just wanted to flirt. It was also the place chosen for gatherings when announcements had to be made. The imposing fountain in the center of the room, a gift from an Italian Esper academy, gave the place a relaxing appearance despite the hustle and bustle there. It was not uncommon for students to sit on its edges to chat, read, or simply to rest. Like that guy is doing on the left there. Upstairs was the cafeteria. Had no idea. Students could choose to cook themselves in their apartments or eat there. The place was also served as a convenience store for the more courageous students. Each student had a prepaid card with a fixed amount, recharged each month, and had to manage his own budget. It was a fun way to teach us about this aspect of our future life, for us who were living cut off from the world. Things changed drastically with the renovations. Only the fountain survived the works. The cafeteria was relocated to a large dedicated room, and the hall was redeveloped into an actual hub for the students. This day was no exception. The hall was packed with 5 people. About to be 7. Chill. It's about to be 7 people in this room. It's gonna be crazy. We're gonna have like a weird orgy of people in this room. Among all the students here, one of them seemed to be looking for something or someone. Is it Haruka? Hi Rio, did your friends tell you I need to talk to you about your exam? Holy shit, my boys, what the fuck just happened there? Haruka was an Esper with whom I spent a lot of time, despite the fact that we did not live in the same dormitory. We were almost the same age within a few months and had arrived at the academy at the same time. We attended many classes together and progressed at the same pace. This gave us the opportunity to regularly work together and made us good friends. She was, however, my exact opposite. Haruka was rather extroverted and jovial. She was comfortable. Stumbling over that word made it sound weird. With people and also a little clumsy. And often preferred to act first and think later. We can say that our personalities balanced out. That may be why we got along so well. I took pleasure in teaching her as soon as possible to bring out her spontaneous and sometimes exaggerated side. As we've often studied together, I wanted to help you one last time by telling you about the official Union of Espers! The OUE! You never know. You always got good grades, so they could decide to offer you a job at the big organization that runs all the Espers. It is therefore important to know a little about those who could be called our leaders. Your exam could be about that. You don't know much about it, do you? And for good reason. I had absolutely no interest in this aspect of an Esper's life. Just to let you know, not really. This isn't the subject that interests me the most. I don't see myself working there. I want to work in the field, and you know it very well. You shouldn't be picky, Rio. Without all those people who work for the other Espers, we wouldn't be here, neither you nor me. Working there is an opportunity to get back to the Espers all they have given you over the years. It's a job that's just as important as all the others. That's true, but... no, nothing. We often had this discussion before today, and our opinions on the subject kept diverging, sometimes leading to heated arguments. It seems smarter not to restart that debate. Haruka. Okay. I invited me to sit on the edge of the fountain with her as we often did. I'm not sure how many times more. I'm gonna make that joke. Let's go 3. At least 3. Very well. Very well, let's begin. Open your ears. It's a little complicated. There are many names and important dates. The OUE, or the Official Union of Espers, was officially established on May 18th, 1894 in Fukuoka, Japan. It is also in this city that the first Esper Academy was created. The man at the head of this initiative was one of the most powerful Espers who has ever existed, Sumida Taiji. He was certainly the first Esper to understand his powers and to master them. He dedicated 64 years of his life to this, since his 8 years of age and discovery of his powers until his 72 years and his death, which left a void still unfulfilled. He was truly fascinating. Alright, so, wait, he dedicated 64 years since 8 years of age. And he died at 72. Anybody keeping track of this? There's gonna be a pop quiz later. We're gonna have to know all this. There is no pop quiz. It is he who set up the basis of the Espers training course and who taught the most talented how to create a link with other Espers in order to detect them. Only 2 other people have presided over the OUE sits. Kanda Mihara, a brilliant Esper discovered and trained by Sumida Taiji, and the current president, Thomas Jonk, from Sweden. Thomas Jonk? I don't know how to pronounce it, though. Forgot. Haruka was also Brett's female counterpart. Her explanations could last for hours without her stopping to take a breath. But where Brett had the ability to eventually stop, she did not realize how much time had passed. The more she spoke to me, the more distracted I became. Kanda Mihara? What? 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 Kanda Mihara. Not Kanda Ihara. Kanda Mihara. Kanda Bahara. Kanda Bahara. It's Kanda Bahara, lamb. Obviously. Kanda Bahara. Kanda Bahara. Kanda Bahara. Hey Rio, I know you, don't zone on me. Listen to me seriously, this is very important. If there is one thing I could feel during her explanation, it is her interest in this aspect of her society. Hakuna Matata? No. No. Not, you're further, lamb, you're further. I already knew she was considering a position in the administration more than anyone else. Or more than anything else, but seeing her tell me all about it with so much enthusiasm was more than revealing. had stretched her. That wasn't even coffee. She could not hold in place anymore. She would get up when the subject was dear to her and move her legs mechanically when she evoked more sensitive subjects. Her passion for what she was saying was expressed without her being able to control it. I am robot. Let's continue. The OUE was initially located only in Japan, then it spread to the world around the middle of the 20th century, thanks in particular to the new means of transport and communication, which marked the beginning of the organization's actions. Since then, Esper's detection and training operations have really taken shape. For the families of young Espers, the academies are high-quality schools. Schools for gifted people. For the OUE, it is a boon as well as a way to cut the Espers from their families as much as possible. You know it as well as I do, keeping our abilities secret has always been Esper's #1 priority, and although many leaks have been reported, in most cases no one has ever taken this information seriously. After the training, the Espers are given false information to provide to their relatives if necessary. A home is given to them in the region where they will work, as well as a fixed home for rest periods. It's really hard to have to hide a second life from your family, and besides, for this reason, the majority of Espers are only allowed to marry other Espers. There are only a few exceptional cases where this rule has been circumvented. A wild KB has joined the channel. But I'm getting off topic. Hopefully KB was not going to lurk, and I didn't spoil her lurking. If I did, oops, my bad. Only a bit more, Rio. You'll soon know everything you need to know about the OUE and Espers in general. Why KB? There are now more than 200... aka these two eventually get fucked. Lamb, I wished. I really do. Suddenly, Cal radio voice. Also suddenly KB. Indeed, hi KB. There are now more than 200 academies around the world, each welcoming 20 to 150 young... to 150. 20 to 100 to 50. That made sense. Young Espers for about 10 to 15 years, depending on their level of progression. According to my research, the current number of certified Espers... Finish the Baptiste challenge when I come here. You came here for me doing voices, KB. Congratulations. And to actually see the game I mentioned about in Discord about, you know, telling everyone to check out to buy, and which I'm going to reiterate one more time that's available on Steam. I do not recall the price off the top of my head. But, yeah, it's available on Steam. Esper, make you live again. So, yeah. According to my research, the current number of certified Espers, those having completed the training, is about 16,000. Many more work in administration. I'm speaking to you about those in the field. Aren't you in bed because music is trim? That's why. It happens, Seth. Each Esper is given an average of 2 missions a year, usually in the continent where he was trained, with a success rate of 97%. 97! It's really excellent. Some very skilled Espers can be sent anywhere in the world when the situation requires it. The Espers live near the person they have to help for the duration of their mission. The OUE believes that a lack of results after 2 months is enough to end the mission. Unfortunately, there are still some cases that we cannot solve. But a mission can last much longer. Sometimes it takes time between initial results and full healing. It depends on the person, his problem, and of course the Esper. KB, sleep's overrated. It's overrated, I'll tell you. Therefore, Espers only live at home an average of 6 to 8 months a year. A nomadic life, in a way, not everyone is able to live like that. It is an element that is taken into account when choosing what exam the student will take. Well, I think that's all you need to know. Oh wait, there's one last thing. Not for a moment did I think she was done. I knew very well that her speech would still last a while. You know how the academies can support their needs? I guess people being here have to pay Espers, much like a visit to the doctor. Wait, did I read that right? My brain doesn't feel like I read that right. And whatever. I had to restrain myself so as not to laugh at my blunder. This was my way of making her understand that I was becoming unable to follow her anymore. Don't say such nonsense, Rio. Espers receive a salary from the OUE, and that's it. You know that very well. Ruka. There's one. Gave me a friendly flick on the forehead. She was probably desperate seeing me act this way on the day of my exam, or simply seeing me act the way I always had with her. Going to lunch with Mill and Bill. Fuck those guys. I hate them. In the morning, so I need to be some sort of functional. Nah. Hey. I'll teach you to say such nonsense. Let's continue. Paying Espers' wages is a little riskier than it sounds. The OUE is a name alone only to Espers. For the rest of the world, it is a charity organization. And this organization lives on the donations of great financial powers, personalities, or governments who are in on the secret. I see, it really gives you the feeling of belonging to something that's beyond us, and this organization has managed to remain undetected all this time. That's impressive. Ryo Masaki, please head to the principal's office for your exam. Dude. Yeah, tell Matt. Tell Matt that I told you to tell him, fuck you. He don't need no fucking, sister-in-law being functional. Probably not a good idea to say that to Marcus's brother. I mean, what's she gonna do? Come to where I live? I highly doubt that. I do. I repeat, Ryo Masaki, please head to the principal's office for your exam. Did two? Okay, no did two. Unfortunately. Is it already that late? I did not see the time pass. Sorry, Ruka, but I gotta go. Oh, Ruka. My lesson finished just in time. Go, Ryo. And good luck. And we will never see her again. I sound really fucking hyper. I mean, you gotta try the enthusiasm, right? You gotta go with the energy, the flow with the things, and the stuff with the energy, and the... I mean, do you want me to sound more chill and more laid back and more tired? Because, I mean, I could do this level of energy, too. It sounds... It's honestly easier on me, but, I mean, more energy flow, right? More energy flow. Always energy. All the energy. Never stop energy. No, that said, I need coffee. For the energy. Cocaine coffee. I did not mix cocaine in my coffee. No sugar, just cocaine. 100% pure, unfiltered cocaine. Added directly into the bloodstream. Skip the coffee. The best cocaine ever. I finally arrived at the front of the principal's office, placed between two classrooms and in a busy hallway during class time. Its access was strictly forbidden to students who had not been invited. What? The door to his office was so impressive that it was enough to intimidate those who wanted to get a little too close, even if some curious or courageous ones sometimes tried to see what was happening inside. And on, applied directly to the forehead. Espers were invited to this office on the day of their arrival to meet the principal, to learn about the basics of their new life and pass various tests related to their powers, as well as the day of their final exam. To be summoned there outside these two occasions was a very bad sign. This did not happen very often, but those who received the honor of this exceptional convocation usually did not return to their dormitory. The rules were very strict. The principal also used this office to receive Esper's graduates who came to visit him, or for his meetings with his colleagues from the broader Esper world. He had to deal with the small size of the academy. We did not have a reception room. The principals of other academies of Japan, and even from abroad, regularly visited our academy, as well as all kinds of advisors and Espers with particular skills. cocaine fly directly to the bloodstream. I mean, that's how you get the high off the cocaine faster, right? Here I am. 10 years of work for this moment. I had just reached my goal. All Espers look forward to this day for reasons that often diverge, certainly, but this desire, this excitement, it is the same for everyone. This isn't a visual novel, KB. This is technically classified as a kinetic novel, which is a very particular type of visual novel. And for many, as for me, it was opposed to a certain sadness, linked to a likely departure and no, KB. Linked to a likely departure and distancing myself from the people I liked, and even more people who were a big part of my life. It was a lot of hard work to get there, here, and there, because, you know, I had to go through like 3 different people and then Haruka, just to get to this point after being called to get here, because, yeah. I had a feeling of accomplishment. I felt proud, but not only. I also asked myself a lot of introspective questions. I felt, for a while now, the need to know what type of Esper, but especially what type of man I was going to be in the outside world, much of which was still unknown to me. I wanted to see how I was going to adapt to my future life. By the way, spoiler, we do get to see other places besides the school. You'll find that out probably in the next 20 minutes. Depends how fast I read. And how much more I dick around talking randomly like this. We'll see. I wanted to see how I was going to adapt to my future life, whatever it may be. Was I going to be a good person? Someone dependable? Agreeable? Would this new life please me? Would it please me? Would it put the lotion on its skin? Would everything work out? I had very little contact outside the academy during my years of study. I had a lot of questions about myself, but also about the life that was waiting for me. Actually, you know what? I'll take that back. Maybe 30 to 40 minutes. The pupils of the academy were only allowed to return to their families for 3 weeks a year, and some supervised outings of very short duration were organized each year. That sums up about everything concerning our time outside the academy. We followed what was happening in the world mainly through newspapers, television, or the internet. On authorized sites, it was therefore normal to ask myself questions. Yeah, like, how will I, get pure, unfiltered cocaine to apply directly to my bloodstream? The academy was not a prison, but the inexperienced Espers had to be kept under control to avoid any problem with their powers. That's how it used to be. Espers generally become a bit anxious as they approach their exam at the idea of knowing that everyday life outside of the academy might not suit them. But, as far as I was concerned, my main preoccupation was what position would be offered to me. I was obviously concerned about what my life might be like outside, but this was secondary for me. Am I competent enough to be sent out of the field? Or is the serious attitude that I think I have shown for many years going to condemn me to a position in the administration? So many questions caught in my mind. So many. Just couldn't see. Just needed to find where that cocaine was in my mind. I did not have any special skills besides my powers. Apparently, I have made Rio fucking cocaine addict along with me, apparently. With this coffee cocaine thing that I am apparently drinking. So that eliminated many possibilities. I had also been working for one purpose only. What pushed me to become an Esper is this ability that we have to be able to help others. It's what convinced me what I always wanted to do. I knew very well that no matter what I was be offered. Yeah. Well, that's another message sent off to Stoy. What do after what I was be offered? Well, Lamb, what do after would be useful for Espers in general, but Is Bruno Mars is gay? That's a reference to something else, but there, your brain. Does Bruno Mars is gay? Thank you, Lamb. That's the exact quote for that. I tried correcting the grammar, apparently. Howdy, OPD. And what's up is me doing voices and playing a kinetic novel, or as KB put it, a visual novel that I had to properly and jokingly correct. But I really hope to be able to do what I had worked so hard to achieve. I did not imagine that things could happen otherwise. I had to be chosen at that moment, otherwise my chances would have been almost nil. Kinetic visual. I don't know, Lamb. This game's actually pretty long. Like I could actually call it a kinetic novel. I knew there were many cases of Espers switching career paths. Some were in the field and ended up in the administration for various reasons, but the opposite was particularly rare. There were only a few cases over the last 10 years. I finally mustered all my courage and decided to knock on the office door. My arm seemed to weigh a ton, and I had to take a deep breath before taking the leap. You know, I never did actually figure out who exactly says this. Enter, please. Let's go with him. Oh, she's talking. You know what that decision involves, Takashi. I still think it's not a good idea. There's still time to push back the exam and find a test in another city. Furthermore, it's not as if people in distress are what's missing right now. We are almost too few to handle everything. I am aware. I am probably more aware than anyone else, but I do not think it is necessary to postpone the examination. I feel like I've lost the Lethia's voice 100% there. It doesn't sound quite right to me. For blade and honor. It seems off. I think it's been too long since I've done the voice. Like, I think I'm in the right area with it. I'm not quite there. I'm Takashi, bitch. Ahem. Takashi no Uni. Principal Takashi no Uni. Whether today or in a few years, it is inevitable that an Esper will be sent there at one time or another. This has been postponed more than enough over these last few years. I am ready to take the necessary actions if anything should happen. But most likely nothing will happen. His powers, even though they will be unstable over the next few days, should not manifest outside of the exam. Only an experienced Esper in full possession of his faculties could feel something. Sending a student on an exam will also be a great way to measure the potential dangers of the current situation. You're far too careless. Nobody has ever confronted with this. Wait, right? Don't be skipping all words. Nobody has ever been confronted with this situation outside of you and me. You can't be certain that everything will happen as you expect, and you can't find anything better than sending an inexperienced student. Why does something go wrong? Did you think about that? Did you? Did you, Takashi? After pressing on Light of Lethius was supposed to be re-recorded with the same voice. I am quite aware of the consequences this decision could have, but my choice is made. He will go to Naraha. Lamb, help me out. To take this exam, or his exam. It's not necessary to put him in such a delicate situation because of this trivial matter. Trivial matter, as you wish. As overseer of this examination, my role is simply to supervise, not to question your decisions. But do not count on my help if it goes wrong. It's beyond my authority, and anyway, I never accepted this situation. You know I have regretted every second that has passed since that day. I shouldn't have been there with you at that time, let alone giving in to your whims. I am sorry. Sorry won't change anything, and besides, I already told you dozens of times that I won't be able to accept your excuses. But at least I have some sense and postpone the exam. Postpone it! I know you're right, but it's too late, and it will not be long before he arrives. After all, I just did an announcement over the loudspeaker for him. And it would be disrespectful to announce an unexpected postponement of examination. This is a very important day for Espers. Do not change the subject, Takashi. You know very well that this is not about him, or do you want me to refresh your memory? ... I know you hold it against me, but in my place, what would you have done? I had no choice. Can't really help without being there. I mean, fair enough. I actually thought, I'm like, part way through, before I took that first break, I'm like, you know, this might actually be one of those games that probably could have actually worked with both of us, like, playing it, even though it's a single-player game. Just because voices, but too little too late at this point, I guess. We already had this discussion. You made a choice that was not yours to make. As for what I would have done, that's not the matter at hand. Knock, knock, knock. Ah, there he is. We can resume this discussion later if you wish. ... Ellipsis. Enter, please. Enter, please. As I entered, I felt that I was interrupting something or arriving at the wrong time. The atmosphere seemed tense, and it took them a few moments before speaking to me. As if nothing had been prepared, the principal finally spoke up to fill the silence that was becoming awkward. Come closer, Rio. We have a lot to say to you. Today, you will enter a world that you know almost nothing about. The world of Espers. At first glance, the office did not seem to have changed. It looked the same as the one engraved in my memory, but after quickly looking around, new details caught my eye. Like that, ebook. Yeah, the ebook over there. It's totally not an iBook. Better than iBook. It's an ebook. It comes before I. Or, that particular book right there. He used to have 2 more brown books, but now there only 2 remain. I don't know. It would have been surprising if everything remained frozen for so many years, and although the overall layout of the room had not changed, I quickly noticed new curtains. Oh, the computer, the ebook, and the new floor. Only the old rug seemed to have survived the update to the room. Oh, I guess all that happened during the renovations. Fair enough. Probably, well, maybe not the computer, but who knows. But the feeling was still the same. I felt the same apprehension from when I came for the very first time. That could be taken out of context. Same as that day, I was, in part, paralyzed by the event. After a moment of hesitation, I approached the principal, who, to my surprise, was accompanied by someone. It may seem strange to hear this, but believe me, things will very soon be quite different from your campus life, and we have to prepare you for it. Rio, let me start by congratulating you. Your years of hard work have finally paid off. You will now be able to pass your final exam. Have you obeyed and glory and honor? Actually, you do have honor, because I'm about to mention that same word. As you know, this honor is only granted to those students who we consider ready. Therefore, you can trust us, but most of all, you can trust yourself. When you leave this office, many things will already have changed for you. In a way, you will not be the same. You will be resurrected to protect this place from the evils. I did not imagine the scope of those few words. The principal invited me to sit down. I have a seat right over here, as Lamb said a moment ago. And all 3 of us took place around the table. This scene looked strangely like my first and only other visit to this office. The person accompanying the principal spoke. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Rin Hirabayashi. Hirabayashi. The examiner responsible for your exam, but I am not just an examiner as it stands. You know, fucking names like that, but when they're long enough, they just become harder to pronounce for me. Because, like, my brain is trying to, like, individually parse it as individual proper syllables as if it was Japanese. But the other part of my brain's like, no, it's a fucking word. Read it as English. Rabayashi. Rabayashi? Ashi? English spin on it. My role is not only to observe you and to intervene in case of error, and besides, that's not even really the case. Learning from your mistakes is also part of your exam. No, I will only intervene if I feel that you are likely to worsen the situation you are working on. I will oversee the situation from a distance. Worsen the situation? Does this mean that I'll be sent out in the field? Yeah, field work. That's right, I see you are quite insightful, Mr. Masaki. Masaki? This is an important quality for an Esper, do not doubt my words. Quite insightful. I was very insightful by having one sentence explicitly tell me that I was going to be overseen somewhere about a situation. I feel like it would have been the most obvious thing ever that it was going to be field work. But, whatever. Your exam will consist of solving a classic situation for an Esper. Of course, we have chosen the task adapted to someone of your level who has no experience yet. It had not clicked yet, but after only a few moments I realized I had just heard what I was hoping for. I had just succeeded! These words echoed many times in my head, and when I finally understood what she told me, I felt almost instantly lighter, as if the weight that had weighed on me for several days had just disappeared in an instant. I felt free. Your exam begins tomorrow. You'll be sent to Naraha, a small town in the vicinity of Tokyo. Temporary accommodation awaits you there. By the way, Naraha is an actual place. I did look it up when I was opening up with the game. I don't know if I would really consider it outside of Tokyo, but Your goal will be the same as all Espers. Locate your target and assist him according to the rules established by the Espers, namely by using your powers. I felt like nothing could have happened to me anymore. I felt ready, and my throat doing weird things. Coffee, come to me. Coffee. I'm ready. I'm ready. Ready, you say? No, you are not. You are very far from ready at this moment, believe me. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. These words brought me back down to earth, and the silence, which seemed to last for an eternity, settled in. I did not really understand where she was coming from, but one thing was certain. I had just lost my confidence again. You get shot up and then just like right back down. Straight back down. You are now confidence so low that it is lower than the confidence of whale shit being whale shit. Or something along those lines. Once again, the principal put an end to this embarrassing situation. His voice took on a more serious tone. The leftiest voice is not serious toned. Yes, indeed. What we are going to talk about now must never leave this office, Real. Failing to do so will result in you failing your exam. You are now under the responsibility of Miss Harabayashi. Your exam is now underway. So there are some things that students do not need to know before their exam for their own good and that of others. This concerns your Esper powers. Can you feel them, Real? Have you ever been to read certain thoughts or feelings your classmates, for example? I think? Yes, during training courses on the powers of Espers, but it was more a feeling than a vision. I could never really translate what I felt. That's completely normal. What you're about to learn may shock you, but remember that this is done in order to protect the students, to protect you, Real. Do you remember those tests that you took when you arrived here? You were very young. Or you were young, it doesn't matter if you forgot. I remember it vaguely, more images just come to mind than clear and precise memories. I remembered more than I was letting on. I remember that day very well. I just did not want to interrupt the discussion once again, nor be scolded about something I did not understand. My delivery remained very vague in my explanation. You asked me questions if I remember correctly, and there were two people present, I think. However, I do not remember what we were talking about anymore. Second person then asked me to stand in the back of the room in front of the bookcase over there. It was some kind of test of my powers, I think. Wait. Suddenly I saw an even more similar link between these two situations, over 10 years apart. Excuse me, Miss Hirabayashi, this is a bit strange of a request, but could you let your hair down for a moment? That won't be necessary, you have a good memory, Ryo. We did in fact meet Miss Hirabayashi, that day. And her presence there was not by chance. Miss Hirabayashi is a, special Esper, in a good way, of course. Do you know what happened on that day, Ryo, the day of your arrival? Thought I'd just take a test to measure the extent of my powers. I did not expect what I was about to hear. Your Esper powers were sealed! And it was Miss Hirabayashi who did it. It was one of her many skills. Your powers were sealed to allow you to grow and learn in peaceful serenity. Those who have this ability are called Espers. They are still an Esper, but they are also an Asari. SRS. I was speechless. Not the Thea's voice for this dialogue. Me, this is Real talking to himself, apparently with a mouse over his face. I did not understand how this could have been possible. I did not notice anything during all these years. I could not believe it, and yet... Once your powers are sealed, we can release... Isari. I-S-A-R-I. I am. Not Asari. Isari. We can release a tiny part when necessary to teach you to master them gradually and detect any problem in their evolution or in yours. And you have already understood when your powers were, in part, at least during your classes. Yeah. And yet they seem to be telling me the truth. Your teachers have the ability to lift part of the seal applied by Miss Hirabayashi for a few minutes. It is thanks to the efforts of all these Espers that you have been able to learn and grow in such good conditions. But today, your 4 powers will be granted to you. This is an important step in the life of an Esper, but also a difficult step. You'll be shaken for a few days while your powers stabilize. Also, the reader may need to use the restroom again. I tried to organize my thoughts. What I had just learned shook me to my core. I will try to go for another 4 minutes. Before having to go to the user restroom. But I wanted to know more, and I should not let the discussion go on and move away from this topic, so I asked the first question that went through my head, hoping to find a better one during their answer. Wait, why don't you see the powers of those who do not want to follow the path of an Esper, or those whose powers are too weak? Now, this is a very relevant and very interesting question, Mr. Masaki. I see the praise you received was not exaggerated. Sealing the powers of an Esper, even weak ones, is not without risks. Powers sealed in academies are out of control, and these courses where they are partially and temporarily released are not useless. You don't need to know more, only that it is not allowed to leave the power of an Esper's sealed for too long. We consider this a crime because the suffering can be terrible. I'm trying so hard not to do like a female Lethia's voice there. It's fucking hard. That's why it's best to let people live powers what they do not suspect. And that's also why we only talk about our world when we are confident that the person will join our cause. Thank you, Miss Hirabayashi, for this particularly exhaustive explanation. I got the feeling that both were trying to lecture each other indirectly, which had the effect of making me lose track of the conversation. The principal spoke again without me being able to question him more about my powers. So today, we'll release your powers in their entirety. You should be aware that over the course of the next few days, your powers will be very unstable and may lead you astray. This is also part of your exam. You can see the thoughts of people who do not particularly need help, suffer from migraines and insomnia, and be strongly affected by feelings of very distant people whose existence you may not even be aware of. The only person who can truly love Lethia is a female version of himself. All this will only be temporary, and more importantly, very brief, and it may very well not even happen. However, you must be aware that overcoming these trials, should they present themselves, is also part of your exam. Since everything has been said, I'm going to ask you to follow me, Mr. Masaki. Also, doing these two voices back and forth, not that great in my throat right now. We will proceed to the liberation of your powers. You know where this will happen, don't you? Like, I'm doing them both the same way, which is kind of like up in my head kind of talking. So, like, the throat's kind of a bit more closed along with the nose. And it's a bit harder. Miss Hirabayashi stood up and motioned me to follow her. The principal did not move at all and remained seated. Once again, this scene seemed oddly familiar to me. I joined Miss Hirabayashi on the other side of the room. Over by the bookcase. For the thing. And we're back here. Do not worry. Wait, she's talking. Do not really. This operation is fast and painless, but results from it depends only on you. Alright, Mr. Misaki, let's start. Close your eyes and count to 3. Empty your mind, concentrate only on these 3 numbers. Ta-da! Magic powder. This... Something wrong? No, it's nothing. I mean, there, it's over. How do you feel? Mr. Hirabayashi looked troubled, as if she had just seen a ghost and decided not to pay attention. I did not want to be called out. To be honest, I don't feel any different from 5 minutes ago. That's not a bad sign. It may take a few minutes for you to start assimilating your new abilities. Do not worry, you won't miss when they show up. You can go back to the principal to learn more about your exam. As far as I'm concerned, I will only get in touch with you if the situation really demands it. If not, we won't see each other again until the end of your exam. Good luck, Mr. Misaki. I was not unhappy to continue my interview with the principal. This woman intimidated me and made me nervous, and I think the principal realized that. He eventually gave me a small sign to tell me to come join him. Miss Hirabayashi moved away from me and turned her attention to one of the bookcases at the back of the room. That wasn't so bad, I think. I'm beginning to feel your powers. Miss Hirabayashi is an expert Asari. She has sealed the powers of 90% of the current students in the academy. Oh? What do you mean, KB? Is your brother-in-law there with you or something? Remember, Rio, you must not talk about this to any other student. Under any circumstances, the success of your exam and your future as an Esper depend on it. I understand. Now, about your exam, it's time for me to reveal the details. Principal motioned to me and brought his face closer to mine. Distinctly responded to his signal and moved my head closer. He whispered a few words in my ear. You can relax, Rio. Everything will be fine. The demon is gone. He then backed off, cleared his throat, and raised his voice as if to hide what he had just told me. I mean, do not be afraid of what awaits you. My brother usually stays with us one night when he visits. Many others have been in your shoes, and I can assure you that there is no reason to worry about what will happen to you. All will be well. You have my word. Finally, he gave me a small, friendly smile. He had understood very well what he was putting me in the state, and was simply trying to play down the situation. I relaxed a little. He resumed his explanation. Ugh. We have detected in the city of Naraha the beginning of a signal. Strictly speaking, a person is getting worse and needs our help now. I assure you right now, Rio, this is a minor case that will have, whatever happens, very high chances of healing over time. This is one case where we do not systematically intervene, usually. So this is a perfect situation for a young Esper like yourself who is passing his exam. The risks are minimal, and you have a lot to learn from this experience. For tomorrow, you'll be sent to the city of Naraha, and I have specially prepared for you. You will find some belongings similar to yours here at the academy, as well as everything necessary to live in that city for a while. Your first goal will be to locate the person in question. Naraha is not very big. It shouldn't be a problem for you, despite the current state of your powers. Usually, Espers live normally and end up gradually feeling the presence of the person, so don't overdo it. Just get some fresh air, visit the city, you will end up finding a lead. Try to understand this feeling when your powers react. You will then have to put everything you know into practice. Everything you have learned during these years here will be useful to you. As you get closer to this person and try to understand her, interesting. I never caught that before. Interesting. You should begin to feel your powers awaken. I'll talk about that, why I said that was interesting later on. Know, however, that everything will be very different from any lesson you have done over these years of training. We have taught you to feel and gradually use the surface of your powers, nothing more. You can feel a few thoughts, or just realize the power of an empathic bond. But now you'll feel more than just thoughts. Your powers will manifest in different ways and help you understand the suffering of others. The links you are now able to create will be stronger and have a real impact on you and the person you are targeting. Expect to suffer and to make someone suffer in every sense of the word, but also expect to see hope where there should be. You now have that power. Also, dear God, stop talking. Oh. If you are here today, it is because we believe that you are finally able to master your powers and make an asset out of them. Doing Lethius with this voice wasn't this difficult, there was less dialogue. So, what was I saying? Yes, by continuing to bring yourself closer to a person in need, you will finally be able to read his feelings and thoughts. You'll be able to translate and understand what you're going to feel. Just a moment, dying over here. Alright, got some coffee in me. Hopefully that helps a little bit. That's when you will have to be very careful. All these negative emotions may be hard to contain, but you must absolutely not turn away from your goal. Once your power stabilizes a little more and allow you to assimilate these negative emotions rather than suffer them, you will feel your body react. These emotions will turn into positive energy, and you will start to feel the empathic bond between you and the person you are helping. It is very important to control this link. Neither you nor the person you are helping should become slaves to it. If you are able to master it, then you'll be able to gradually sever it when necessary. Your goal is to create this link and get rid of it when the time is right. Do not forget, Rio, your powers will help you solve problems, but they won't solve anything by themselves. You will have to, one way or another, give people the desire to live a sustainable life again, even after breaking the bond. Consider the link as a way to stabilize the situation and allow you to understand it before you can solve it. Making people accept suffering, failure, and even death as an integral part of our work. Your powers will help you to achieve this. This assignment is not time sensitive, however you need to show us your powers before time solves this particular case. The most important points will be your ability to master your powers, to create an empathic bond, and then break it down gradually after solving the problem. Mr. Abayashi will concentrate our powers on you, and you will be able to feel the evolution of yours. You have nothing more to do than treat this case like any other graduate Esper. Now, let's move on to the final details. As for all Espers who will work under a specific identity, for this exam you'll be able to use your name since nobody knows you. So, you are Ryo Masaki, a law student about to be transferred to a university in Tokyo. You had temporarily moved into a house belonging to your extended family, enough time to settle the details of your transfer and to find suitable housing. However, do not talk about yourself unless it is essential to progress your assignment. Moreover, for the duration of your exam, you are forbidden from contacting other Espers. That's the rule. It is important that you deal with the problems you are going to face alone. This is something that will be difficult for us to verify, but you will have to make sure you respect this rule, just like the others. Finally, know that if the situation were to evolve, for example, if another case were to manifest itself and could mislead you, we would take the necessary measures to guide you and ensure that the smooth running of your examination is not disturbed. So, you do not have to worry, Rio. I will be done talking hopefully soon. What? I mean, KB, I can be louder. You want me to be louder? I can be louder. Like, I'm at minimum volume. Minimal volume. Minimal. Now I can be louder. Focus on exam. Well, I think we're done. Is there anything else you would like to know? Take advantage now. You leave tomorrow. I had a little trouble following. I had only half listened to these explanations. My powers had begun to manifest, and I was trying to fight this rather unpleasant sensation, as if something was trying to take possession of my body. I can't think of anything more to ask you. I think, I'm ready? Now you are. I suggest you return to your quarters and rest. You leave tomorrow at dawn. Do not forget to say goodbye to your classmates one last time and settle any unfinished business you have here. You may not come back for a long time. Long time. A new life is waiting for you, Rio, and good luck. The principal accompanied me to his office door and motioned me to leave the room. You seem very contemplative. Something wrong? You seem preoccupied with that book. You stayed on the same page for more than 25 minutes. Is it still because of the story? See for what? Oh, still the principal talking. Is it still because of the story? See for yourself. It's too late to turn back now. Sorry? No, it's nothing. If you excuse me, I have work waiting for me. And scene. Oh dear God, I'm going to need to take a fucking break after that. Okay, break time. Break time. Voice is becoming shot having to do that voice so much. KB, can you hear me now? Can you send me the? Can I send Lamb the? I don't know what Lamb wants me to send him.